What's going on, guys? Seth here from Team Union Seth, here for the Week 5 Power Rankings in Season 2 of the RPL. We are yet again joined by Rishu.
Hello!
And O'Connell.
Hi, guys.
And this week's guest is the coach of the Twinleaf town Torterras, the legend himself, some random fellow, a.k.a. Paul.
A.k.a. Bad Mod. That's me!
Yep. So Week 5, we're just going to get right into the rankings here. Paul is going to kind of give his thoughts throughout as we go through each individual game, and then he'll get a chance to talk a little bit more in depth about his own match, and we'll go from there. So, we switched the graphics around a little bit, so now it makes a little bit more sense in terms of the visual. So starting from the bottom and moving up, yet again this week we have at number 12 the Tauberbischofsheim Teddiursas for both Rishu and O'Connell. So O'Connell, I'll let you start this week, and you can talk about their game.
Once again, as Week 5, there is not much to say. The questionable prep, questionable play, overall questionable everything. But I mostly question the Jellicent staying in front of Barbados and just spamming Energy Ball and Dazzling Gleam. If I'm gonna switch something against the Jellicent from the opposing team, I would switch either Gudra or Serena. Serena doesn't mind any of that, and Gudra, okay, maybe Dazzling Gleam is super effective, but I'm pretty sure it does we saw how much it does. It does 20% or something.
Yeah, it definitely doesn't
do
much.
It's not gonna matter. The fishing for Scald Burns is much more beneficial at that point.
We saw all 4 of his moves. He didn't have Scald.
Yeah, why not? Scald is the main reason why something called bulky water types are a thing.
Especially with a Mega Scizor on the other side, a Jellicent not having Scald is not the best.
Not the best, definitely. And the close combat matchup is still a thing for some reason. He's not giving up on that. He's not trying Dynamic Punch. I don't know. Any improvements from last week? I don't think so. Well, he got a kill. He was leading at some point. Ariados died before any of his monks died. So that's let's call it a plus, I think.
Definitely a positive.
Why not? That's all.
Okay, so Rishi, go ahead and give your thoughts.
Alright, so technically speaking, not only was this a huge statistical improvement, because he didn't just get 1 kill, he got 3, which is 2 more than he had in any other game. He and his opponent both admitted after this game, because this game was kind of rushed, his opponent was the one who was having the personal situation going on, that they were both memeing. This team in particular didn't build any new sets for this week, but that doesn't mean that the sets they did bring weren't bad. So the Jellicent set, as we talked about, was not very good. It lacked Scald and Shadow Ball. I don't really know what he expected to happen, to be honest. The Volcarona set, the same one I've actually been praising for the last few weeks. We saw its 4th move this week, and it was Defog, which automatically renders this set not as good as I thought it was. Because I assumed it was going to a fire or bug offensive move, and he just wasn't clicking it for some reason. Nope, it was Defog.
Doesn't that get rid of his light screen?
No, it doesn't get rid of your light screen. It gets rid of the opponent's, though. But he had Hurricane again. Obviously, he was using it against the rain teams. This wasn't a rain team, so I guess I gotta penalize him for it. He let his Gourgeist die for some reason at some point. I don't really understand why that happened. His Tapu Lele had extra sensory. We admonished him week 1 for having Psyshock, so he went with a worse move. Or for having Psychic instead of Psyshock against Blissey, so he went for the worst move he could have out of the 3. He made some misplays with Sableye because he had no reason to not keep clicking Recover until Scizor Swords danced in front of him again. I don't know whether he had Will-O-Wisp, but he definitely should have clicked that if he had it. he made a couple nice plays, right? Like, this was technically, there was a reason he got 3 kills and not 0 in this game. And it's because he was able to keep himself from getting swept. He was able to manage the hazards in front of him to stop that from utterly destroying him. But at the end of the day, this team prep just straight up was not good enough to get him a win. And he still got. So here he is, 0-5, halfway through the season with the largest negative differential in the league by a lot. He's not mathematically eliminated from the playoffs yet, but he's essentially eliminated. So there's not really a good way to tell where he's going to go from here. I've been kind of generous. I have said that there are encouraging signs, and they're still there. Getting kills is what qualifies as an encouraging sign at this point. But, you just gotta. There's a clear. I don't know what the best way to say this is, but there's a clear demarcation line in between him and the other 0-5 team. And I think that just indicates that there's another hurdle that he has to climb even before he gets into the conversation of maybe he wins a game. Which, the interesting point to note there is that those two teams play each other next week. So, we'll see.
All right.
We'll see what happens.
I mean, that bodes well for both of them. It can definitely be nice to finally get some momentum on their side. Paul, did you have anything to add from this battle?
I mean, yeah, all I really have to say is, like, the Jellicent thing, having both Dazzling Gleam and, what was it, Energy Ball?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't really understand that. And, like, the fact that he stayed in so long against the Ariados. I guess he was fearing Pursuit, but Chafee wasn't really using it. So.
Oh, he used it. He had it.
He used it the one turn that he decided to switch the Jellicent out, but any of the other turns he could have switched it out for free and probably done something to stop the Ariados.
Yeah, that's definitely true. I mean, Pursuit, honestly, like, Ariados pursuing a Jellicent is probably not going to do that much anyway.
It did like 50%.
It did like half, yeah.
Did it? I mean, I don't know. But I mean, it's still questionable. I think there's definitely would have been better ways to handle the situation.
Yeah.
But this battle is still going on.
There's like 30 turns stalled between
this battle was
Booca and
79
Jellicent.
turns long.
Oh my lord. All right, we're gonna skip to the end.
That's valid.
But yeah, no, this essentially Jellicent gets poisoned and dies eventually. There you go.
Boom.
Thanks.
Right.
Good job. You got a kill for Sticky Man. All right.
All right. So, and there it is. There's the end. All right. So we're gonna move on to our next slot, the number 11. The Emerald City Espeons are yet again in the number 11 slot for both Rishu and O'Connell. Rishu, you can talk about their game a little bit first.
Okay. So he played you, Seth. He got hexed again, like he did in week 1. It was a little bit earlier in the game. It maybe mattered more or less. He didn't respond super well. His team matchup was, again, kind of bad, but it wasn't terrible. He made a lot of moves that you can see in this game. His transactions took effect. I think there's a valid point to be made that he probably would have been better off with Mega Aggron in this game than Mega Latias, but Mega Latias long-term is obviously a way better mon. This is kind of continuing a trend where he played all right, he prepped all right, but he just needed to do more to win. He needed to have more to answer Sylveon. There was a play in there, we're going to get to it, where he has Scizor at 11% in against Jirachi. A range where Ironhead would kill Scizor. Excuse me. And he decides to Fire Punch it again as you switch into Noivern, where Ironheading there was just a better play. I don't think it would have made a difference in the long term, but that's the kind of thing that's been emblematic of why he's not winning games.
So I will say real quick, I'll actually go back to that turn that you just talked about. So after the fire, so we see Ironhead here does about 13%, and then I was left at about 14% after this. So I think that would have been a roll. If he had
and even then, you weren't going to kill him, most likely. You might have had a roll. I wasn't paying attention to that, but Ironhead there was definitely the play, because even if he didn't kill you, he had a 60% chance to flinch you.
Yeah. True.
So he had that. He needed better answers for Jolteon. He doesn't really have any on his team because he doesn't have a ground type.
Mm-hmm.
His Lottie set, I think, needed to be better. He brought Surf. We didn't see his fourth move. I'm going to assume it was a Dragon move based on how he was playing it, but a Psychic move, specifically Psyshock and HP Fire, would have been way better.
Mm-hmm.
He used up his win con, as you're seeing right now, a little bit too early in the game. You still have all your mons. He still has all your mons. This is his win con. This is Mega Latias. It's here. It's clicking Calm Mind. Game's getting decided right now. he wasn't really making progress against your team otherwise, so I don't blame him for trying to do this early, but it doesn't work out. So, he, again, like I said, he kind of lost on the matchup. He did wellish around it. He got hexed, kind of. His luck has been kind of tough because he also got placed in the division that is clearly better than the other divisions. So maybe that will take a turn in the second half, but his schedule really doesn't do any favors for him because after he plays the Teddiursas week 6, he has games left against Bloomington, the Durham Granbulls, your team again, and Okan's team. So right now, 0-5 with his schedule is a really, really, really rough spot to be. But we'll see if his luck can turn around. Maybe he can build some momentum and make something happen. That's all I'm looking forward to.
All right, Okan, your thoughts?
Yeah, I don't have too much to add. I think he prepped and played okay, not too great, and he got hexed. Yeah, but even if he didn't, he maybe would have get 1 more or 2 more kills. Like Vivar was really great against 1, 2, 4, actually 5 of his months, and like it didn't even need to hit the field. So like he would have won. You would have won either way. He would have lost because of just the team difference. But I think, yeah, he played nice. I gotta give it to him. You can see the improvements. I hope he can improve on the tough schedule. I doubt that. It's kind of hard for him to reach playoffs at this point, I think. But let's hope he can turn the season around. But at least he's really getting better. So it's a learning experience for the next season, maybe.
Yeah, I will say, in terms of the matchup, it was really tough for him because I did notice right off the bat he didn't have a ground type, and immediately I was just like, Specs Jolteon. And I could just Volt Switch as much as I wanted with no repercussions, really. So that was a huge thing for him to have to try to deal with. And as you saw in the battle, he didn't really do it particularly well. So, Paul, did you have any final thoughts on this battle?
I was going to say, yeah, Jolteon, just looking at the team that he brought, Jolteon was very good against him. He had 2 Mon that were weak to Volt Switch and 3 that were weak to Shadow Ball. And the only other Mon that was left was Galvantula. So, I mean, Jolteon really wreaked havoc on his team. I think he should pick up a ground type if he still has transactions left.
He is out.
Oh, okay. So, yike.
Did he drop a ground type?
He'd never had one. That's why I brought Electabuzz.
Yeah.
All right, so we'll move on. So this is where we start to get a little bit of a disparity, going from 10 up through the middle of the rankings. So Okan, I'll let you start first with the Hartford Hersiers. You dropped them 1 spot from last week down to number 10, as they picked up another loss to put them at 1-4. So go ahead, Okan.
He basically experienced the worst thing that can happen to a guy. He lost the palm.
Whose phone is that?
Yeah. Okay. He lost the PAL, which sucks. I feel bad for him. But, I mean, I dropped... Oh, wait. My door is ringing. Sorry. Okay. Sam, you go.
Oh, great. Very professional. Cool. So I have them a little bit higher, actually. I moved them up mostly as a result of what happened the week before when they won a game. He has played and prepped significantly better over the last 2 weeks, despite the fact that he did lose to you, Paul, which apparently is a crime against humanity. But he made the one misplay that you already saw, leaving Celebi in against Chandler. I have no idea why he did that when he had a Snorlax on his team. That was pretty inexplicable. But the reason he lost this game comes down to he got straight up out-prepped. Like, he didn't really have... The Gren set that you brought was pretty good. The Coco set that you brought was also pretty good. Cresselia is really, really tough for his team to deal with. So, like, maybe he should have brought Mega Banette. Maybe he should have brought otherwise more things for Cresselia. But his prep was otherwise fine. He brought, like, good tech on Snorlax with the Rock Slide. The Ancient Power Togekiss could have been cool if he had, like, Serene graced himself a nice Omni boost. So the weird thing here is we're going to talk about my team at number 10, who is way above him in the standings at 3-2, and this team is now 1-4. But I need him to prove me right, because this is another weird scheduling quirk. He plays that team next week, the Barbados Bibarels. And I really, really, really hope for my sake that he wins that game. At this point, he probably needs to win out to stay alive in the playoff race, which is going to be tough for him. It's doable. I'll read off his remaining schedule. I'm not going to do this for every team, but his remaining schedule, he's got games against Barbados. He has a rematch against me. He has a rematch against Paul. He plays Crawdaunts, and he also has a rematch against the Infernapes. Most of those games, I think, are winnable for him. He just has to take his play up and his prep up just a tiny, tiny bit of a notch, and he can make it. So we'll see. I think he's going to have a way more interesting end to the season and a way more, I guess, promising end to the season than his start would indicate.
Yeah. Actually,
so now that Okan is back,
yeah, I want to say something real quick. I do agree with you that I think Mega Manette would have been a pretty good play, considering he could Shadow Sneak the Chandelure, potentially Shadow Call the Cresselia, Gunk Shot for the Tapu Koko, and then even Destiny Bond for anything really. It's just a threat that needed to get out of there. I think that probably could have been a little bit of a better bring. I'm not sure what it could have replaced, but definitely something for him to think about. Okan, you there?
Yeah.
All right. All you.
I mean, I probably agree with whatever you guys said, but yeah, like the game was really close. Actually, it came down to the mind games with Gran.
There's a lot of mind games at the end.
Yeah. And he could have won if the Sleep Talk got anything but red with the Snorlax. Like
if he got anything other than rest that turn, or he missed the rock slide from Sleep Talk, he would have just instantly won if he killed the ground.
Yeah, like Snorlax would have won against Cress with Sleep Rest Talk. I don't think Cress they could have done much.
My only damaging move on Cress was Ice Beam.
Yeah. So against the thick fat Snorlax.
Yeah, that's not doing anything.
True. So that's all. Like he prepped and played good, I think, mostly. Mega Bennett could have been an option. I agree.
I agree with that too.
Maybe Hexers wasn't as good of a bring, but again, it's not too bad. It could have dealt a lot of things, but didn't have a chance to set up.
Yeah.
And the Celebi dies in every game for some reason. I think Celebi is
sad.
Yeah, I decided Celebi is a bad man after watching his games. I was thinking about drafting him in like some leagues, but never gonna.
Wow. Right. Yeah, I mean, honestly, it's kind of funny you say that. I don't disagree with that, just because it's got so many weaknesses. But all right, Paul, do you have anything to finish up?
I mean, not really. You guys hit most of the points. One thing I will say, I've never really been a fan of Togekiss, because it's mostly just like, ooh, hacks to win. I don't really know, like...
I'm so offended.
And then you hex the Toxicity?
I mean, yeah, and I happened to put the Togekiss in a wheelchair, that's right. Wait, Sam, didn't you beat me with a banded Togekiss once, actually?
I didn't beat you with a banded Togekiss. I had like 7 or 8 kills with Togekiss on my team last year.
That's right. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I've never particularly been a fan of Togekiss. All it really got to do was put Cresselia in a wheelchair, I think, that battle. But it didn't really matter that much. But yeah, I think Banette would have been a good bring, actually, now that I think about it. I didn't really have much for it, I don't think. Besides, like, Chandelure.
Mm-hmm.
I just want to point out, we're making fun of Selby for being a bad mon. He did drop it. He used all his transactions this week, so his team's...
That's right, that's right.
6.
Yeah, that's true. But yeah, I mean, honestly, like, I really like the transactions he made. We can actually talk about that a little bit real quick, and get your guys' thoughts. He dropped... Let me see.
I gotta pull it up. I don't even remember.
He drops Skuntank, Lucario, Togekiss, and Celebi for Hitmontop, Ninetales, Alolan version, Serperior, and Necrozma.
Yeah, so...
I think Necrozma alone makes his team much better.
Yeah, I agree with that. And I think Serperior is really nice to replace Celebi. I think it's just a better grass type overall. I think it just
Yeah,
does more for
definitely.
his team. Alolan Ninetales is a really good mon in the format, in my opinion. And
I think that's the only questionable one for me because we have 2 Rain and Sun team.
Mm-hmm.
And all of the setters are slower than him, so
Yeah.
even if he leads, it's gonna change.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, in the league specifically, I think it's a little bit questionable, like you said. But I think it's still a good mon, and it's decent for his team. It also gives him a fairy type that's not Togekiss, so he doesn't have to kind of rely on that every week to be a Dragon Killer. And then him on top getting some extra Intimidate is nice, and as well as replacing the Lucario. So
And like the Ninetales can also be used to like cancel other teams' weathers too.
yeah.
All right. Well,
So
for
like,
me,
it's not terrible.
for me, because I actually have very strong opinions. Necrozma is the only mon that I like that he picked up. I think the rest of his mons are kind of trash because none of them hit very hard. Like, they're all semi-offensive mons, and they're all useless offensively. And you look at Ninetales especially, we talk about we have 3 weather teams. He plays all of them in the last half of the season. So I don't know what situation he thinks he's bringing Ninetales in, but it's not going to work out. Superior can't do anything until it's at +2. Leaf Storm likes to miss. Hitmontop is one of the most overrated rapid spinners in the entire game because it doesn't recover. It's useless offensively. Can't scare anything out. Can't beat any ghost type. Like it doesn't rapid spin very well. It's affected by spikes and T-spikes. Like I can go on and on. I drafted Hitmontop once and I will never ever do it again.
Same thing. Same here. Like I drafted it once. It's just so bad.
But Necrozma is a mon that can be used very effectively in a variety of ways. And Necrozma, I think, is a fantastic pickup that almost makes up for the fact that his other 3 mons are terrible. But he obviously was having a difficult time building and playing with the other 3, so I don't blame him at all. I think Celebi's a lot better than you guys are giving it credit for. I wanted to draft Celebi in this league, and then he took it.
I think it has
you can get it now.
I think it has very specific uses, and you have to like really know how to play it well in order to play with it. And like you said, excuse me, I just don't think he built and played with it well enough, and I think it was definitely smart for him to drop it considering how he's been playing with it. But we're gonna move on. And enough talking about the Hartford Hersiers. We're gonna move on to Rishu, your number 10, the Barbados Bibarels, which is I thought was pretty interesting. You dropped them 3 spots, even though they won, and they are 3-2. And Okan, you had them at number 8. So Rishu, I'll let you talk a little bit about them first, and why you dropped them to number 10, even with a victory.
All right, so we watched the replay. We don't have to go into that again. He was memeing. I'm not going to super hardcore dissect his prep, just because his prep was kind of rushed. I'm not going to blame him. He is technically 4th in the standings, but what happened here? Like, this play, you can meme and still not play terribly. Like, right? So we say that he's 4th in the standings. He's still, right? If that forfeit goes the other way, he only got the forfeit win because his opponent gave it to him. If his opponent hadn't said anything, he'd be 1 less win, 1 more loss, and 6 fewer differential. He'd be in 6th place by virtue of a head-to-head tiebreaker against the Colorado Crawdaunts. So, and the fact that he was playing what we have unanimously decided is the worst team in the league this week, the way he played, he probably would have lost to any other team. So right now, the way I see it, he could very well be 1-4, which would put him, again, at the same spot as the Hartford Hersiers. So I have no problem this week ranking him below them. This whole Ariados interaction with Jellicent, he could have switched out. He had a Necrozma. Why? Why didn't he switch out? He blew his win con way too early with this Serena set. The Serena set was kind of weird because it was also super slow. Like, we saw it come in. Gorias was faster than him, even with sticky webs. But he blew that. Like, Volcarona is still around. I have no idea what he thought he was going to do to Volcarona. He switched Goodra in on a Tapu Lele, which is the only mon that Goodra could not safely switch in on this entire team. The only one. He refused to use... he could have probably won this game 5-0 or 6-0 with just Necrozma, right? Because Necrozma switches in, it kills Jellicent, kills Lele, it kills Machamp, and it kills Gourgeist. Out of all 4 of those mons, Necrozma killed 1 of them. Like, it was free. It was free. He just didn't do it. So, the way I see it, his team, he's been playing consistently worse ever since week 2, excluding the forfeit. And I understand he's got the personal stuff going on, so I'm not saying that he is a bad player or overall or any of this makes me respect him less as a coach or a player, but this is the kind of stuff that you watch, and like, if you're a fan of this team or an analyst of this team, it concerns you. because we said in the beginning that he would need to elevate his play in order to like stay in the playoff race and compete with the better teams. And he's going to have to do that, right? Because you look at his schedule. His schedule is not that he does not. I would not want to be him
So let me see.
in the second half of this season. He has games left against me. He has games left against your team, Okan. He has a rematch against the Hersiers. He has another rematch against this team.
And he plays the Crawdaunts again.
Or not a rematch against the Hersiers. He has a game against the Hersiers. He has a rematch against this team. And
Rematch
he has a
against
game
me.
against the Crawdaunts. And he has a game against the Crawdaunts. He beat the Crawdaunts very handily week 1. At this point I would be worried based on how the coaches have been playing that he's going to lose that game. So I don't think you could convince me that he should be higher than 9, even at 3-2. But I think it's pretty fair to put him at 10, even where he is at the standings.
Okay. Okan, you can give your thoughts on his play this week and why you put him at number 8.
After hearing the heated argument, I might actually agree with Sam here. Like, he's playing worse and worse every week, and like the prep was not the only problem. Prep and play was both problematic. Bullet punch in Psychic Train, just switching Good Rain to Lele. Not much makes sense there. Like, I don't know if he made a good play in the game. I doubt that. Like, he won, but did he make a? I really doubt that. Like, and just we are talking about he was in a hurry about something, or like that he spent 30 turns just because he wanted Gudra to have a kill. Like, if you have that much time, I mean, you could have just prepped maybe a little bit better. That the Gudra he wanted to have a kill probably had like 0 special attack, I believe, because the sludge wave did Tapulele like 20% or something.
He had the -1. It's hard to count.
Was it? Okay.
Yeah, he got the special attack drop.
Still, like, Thunderbolt does 20 to Jellicent. So it's not that specially offensive either. Like, if you had that much time, you could have just prepped or at least play better. Yeah. He was in 8th place with me.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
yeah.
Even that is low for a team that's 4th in the standings right now.
Yeah, that's very true. Paul, do you have anything to add?
I think, didn't he disclose what his barrel set was in the chat later on?
It was a genius. It was a bad set, but it was genius.
I think the plan was to counter the Sableye by taunting a Mega Sableye who has Magic Bounce, and I think his only offensive move was Charge Beam.
Oh my god.
Put some respect on Sticky Man and put some respect on the barrel.
Oh boy. Yeah, I mean, to play devil's advocate a little bit, he has been doing what has needed to be done to win. So, like, to give him some credit, he is 3-2. He has understood what he's needed to do to win in some cases. So, some of the games that he's lost, he played well. Some of the games that he won, he maybe didn't play so well, but he did what he needed to do to win. And I think that still goes a decently long way. Maybe not for looking in terms of looking forward to the future and how his record will turn out. But I think it does make a big difference in terms of he's still doing what needs to be done to win, and if he can maintain that, I think it'll be looking good for him as we move into the future. So we're gonna move on to the next slide here. As we have at number 9, Risha, you had the Hartford Hersiers, and Okan, you had the Indiana Infernapes. So we'll talk about the Infernapes. Risha, you had them at number 8. They moved down slots for both of you. Okan, they moved down 1 slot from last week for you, and Rishu, they moved down 2 slots for you from last week. So Okan, you can talk about their game a little bit first as I get it pulled up.
Yeah, I think he didn't play really, too bad this week. He played against Sam and he had a really terrible matchup. Like a rain team against Tangrowth and Vaporeon is not fun. It's definitely not fun. Like, I mean, despite that, I don't know if he had a win con other than Tornadoes, which died in like turn 5 or 6 or something. So it was questionable. The biggest problem, he had some questionable switches. Like, if I remember, Tornadoes switched like with 5% health or something. After that, I think the same happened to Toxicroak or something. He saved mons who shouldn't. And he actually, with those switches, he let his team to just whittle down and die to being picked up easily. I don't know what swept at the end, or that wasn't a sweep, I think, right?
Crobat got 3 kills at the end, and the other one died to Stealth Rocks.
Yeah, but then again, I gotta give some props to the prep. I didn't know Gogot gets aerial ace. that was a shock for me. Well played. But yeah, like he swapped really a lot, and he just let his mons to get weakened and die in the end. Other than that, yeah, nice prep actually. He did his best. The team matchup was already pretty bad, so not much else to say.
Okay. Reese, you can go ahead and give your thoughts and your perspective from the battle, playing it yourself.
Alright, so like, I think he prepped all right. He obviously didn't prep well enough to win the game. He brought the right Thunderous set. He had a good idea with his Go-Goat set. It just didn't really pan out because Go-Goat offensively isn't really a threat on its own. Aerial Ace on Tangrowth is a cool idea, Okan. I probably did less than 20%. Like, I was worried he was going to Rock Slide the Crobat. Even I would not have had an issue staying with Tangrowth on an Aerial Ace, I'll be honest with you. His big problem in playing this game, which is something we warned him about when it happened last week when he 6-0'd the Teddiursas, is that sometimes you use your win con too early and it causes you to lose. And in this specific instance, I was very specifically prepared against the Thunderous set that he was going to bring. He had HP flying, and that was not a roll to kill Tangrowth. He could not kill me, period. So I had a plan that entire time, and he used up his win con too early before he did anything to alter my plan. And at that point, he was left without a way to win the game. When you get right down to it, he kind of got outplayed straight from the beginning of the match. He never truly had any momentum, even when he was setting up with Thunderous, just because he hadn't done enough work to that point to try to win the game. He had some stuff to answer my rain answers, like his Swampert set was good, his Thunder set was good, his Go-Goat set was good to answer Vaporeon. Tangrowth isn't that hard. He might have had Toxic on him on, we didn't see. I think he should have brought Heliolisk, like I said, but he just didn't play well enough after getting momentum sapped to win the game. He's still showing some encouraging signs. Like, his play now is a lot better than it was week 1 and 2. But as we've seen the past few weeks, I think it's pretty clear he just needs to take it up one more, like, minor notch to stay in and keep himself in the playoff race. Right now, he's not currently in the playoff picture. But he has a really golden opportunity, given that he plays a lot of teams that are in the second half of the season, to try to work his way in.
Yeah, I mean, he definitely has a few winnable matchups. I mean, he plays me week 6, he plays the Hersiers week 7, the Glooms week 8, Rishu plays you week 9, and then Paul he actually plays you week 10. So I think, I mean,
Yeah, we rematch.
A couple, like 3 wins there. I mean, I'd say 2 to 3 wins in that stretch is very realistic for him.
If he beats the Glooms, he should make the playoffs.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I mean, it's not going to be easy.
Statement.
It's not going to be, it's not going to be easy, but it's definitely doable. And I think if he really starts to step it up a little bit and starts gaining some momentum, he can definitely have a pretty good shot. Paul, do you have anything to finish up with this battle?
Yeah, just a couple things I noticed during his prep. Well, he had Power Up Punch on the Swampert, which I thought was kind of neat. It let Earthquake do like 78 to Vaporeon. Granted, it wasn't enough to kill, but I thought that was pretty neat. Mm-hmm. He had Battle Bond Greninja, and I'm pretty sure he didn't bring specs. I think he brought Life Orb on it.
Yep.
And I think with that, Grassnot did like 30% of Vaporeon, and I think he would have done like. Huh?
Let me stop you. Bringing Grassnot on Greninja didn't make sense for a very specific reason.
Well, yeah, I was gonna get into that. Dark
Yeah.
Pulse does the same amount of damage and it has a flinch chance, so I was gonna say that too. But yeah, if he had like specs, it would have done like half about maybe. So I feel like that probably would have been better. And if he got a couple of lucky flinches, he could have 1v1 the Vaporeon maybe.
Let me stop you again. If he had specs set is the one I calced, doesn't do a KO because of leftovers. That was the set I specifically built around. He did 52.7.
I mean, if he got a couple flinches. But...
If he got flinches, he wins. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it's always. I mean, it's nothing. You never want to rely on hacks, but it's always.
Well, yeah.
The opportunity is there. Like
exactly.
Playing for it is a lot of times just as good as being ready for it. So.
I mean, like people bring Scald over Surf for a reason.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. So, but we're gonna move on down to the number 7. So Rishu, at number 7, you had the Colorado Crawdaunts sliding down 2 slots from number 5, which they were last week, and Okan, you have them at number 6, sliding down from 1 slot at number 5 last week. So they've now lost 2 games in a row. So they started their first 3 games, they went 2-1, and they're now 2-3. Who talked? I think Okan, you started the last one, right?
Yeah.
Okay,
I guess
it
should be me.
So yeah, Rishu, you'll start with the Crawdaunts here.
Okay, so this specific game is really emblematic of why I had such a problem ranking this week. 6 through 8 especially, and you can throw the team I have at 5 in there too. It's been weird because all those teams have played, with the exception of the team I have at 5, really underwhelming the entire season. In his case specifically, he's had a rough time prepping because he's handcuffed by the Mono Water team. Mad respect to him. He's got 2 wins. And I think this game in particular, because of who he was playing our number 1 team. He lost in a very one-sided game, but he didn't... It's so hard. He didn't play well, right? Because he sacked off a bunch of Mons to Mew that he obviously didn't need to, because Tangrowth could Tentacruel can 1v1 it, excuse me. So he lost Gyarados and Sharpedo and Kingdra. Kingdra I don't blame him for, but Gyarados and Sharpedo for absolutely no reason. He should have predicted that the Mew had Thunderbolt and would outspeed Sharpedo. Kingdra I don't blame him for, because this Mew set was genius, with Twinkle Taco killing him. So he has a bad matchup, and he got toasted by a really good Mew set. And from there was really nothing he could do, because again, he's so handcuffed by having only water types on his team that how the heck is he supposed to beat Toxapex? Like, he only had 1 Monster. He didn't bring Seismitoad. I don't blame him for not bringing Seismitoad, because Seismitoad's not that good. And you have a Rotom-Mow on your team, Okan. But, like, the one thing I have noticed is he probably needs to get a little bit more creative, because he's developing a Paul syndrome, right? Where he brings essentially the same 5 Mons every week. I think since he picked up Kingdra, Gorebyss, Sharpedo, Pelipper, and Gyarados have appeared alongside Kingdra in all of his games. And I think he does need to try to get away from that a little bit. So far, this game was kind of the same story as the rest of his season. It was encouraging play, it was meh prep, and he's had mixed results. The Tentacruel set was very good. The rest of the sets we didn't really get to see because he got kind of blown up. And I think out of all the teams, this is probably the most intriguing to see where he ends up, because right now he's like just outside the playoff race. He's literally he's the forfeit away, going the other way, away from being tied with the team in 6th. So I don't know what's going to happen. I'm really excited to watch this, because this is good. Where he ends up is going to be very interesting.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, it's weird because like he hasn't played bad per se, but he just like I mean, like you said, for a lot of the teams, he just hasn't done enough to win consistently. So, Okan, you can give your thoughts on this battle as well.
Yeah, like I mean, to talk about this game, he got 6-0, so maybe he should.
No, he didn't. He got 5-0. You lied.
Oh, 5-0. Oh, sorry, I was checking. Okay, but like it's not even though he lose, it's not because he plays bad. It's that he just he has a really shitty team with Mono Water. Like Mono Water is easy to play against. I think as good as Mono Water is in the like mono leagues or like ladder, it's not as good as in normal leagues because you're aiming to draft several Volt switchers when you're like Volt switch is a mandatory when you're drafting. Like Watergrass Fire Core is kind of mandatory, and like the water and grass part of that core just was the team. Like he didn't have much to do. He kind of prepped well, like the what's that?
Tentacruel?
Tentacruel set was pretty good. Bringing Dark Z on Gyarados was good against Mew. But I think there's that T-Bot coming, I believe. Other than that, yeah, the sets were good. We talked about it a little. He had options like, for example, the Tentacruel just beat the Blissey easily. But then again, even if he killed Blissey, even if he killed the Toxapex, how does this team win against Rotom? Just imagine I gave Rotom the Choice Scarf and just spam Thunderbolt. Like it wins. It wins so easily. And behind that, there's at least Levani. Behind that, there's something else. He had a really bad matchup, and like he didn't do too much to change the situation. Only I can give him prop for Tentacruel. Other than that, yeah, just like better luck next week. But like I said, he can improve a lot. Not a lot. He's doing his best actually. Like with this team, I don't know. I'm kind of contradicting myself here, but like, I mean, he's playing good. His team is shit. So that's all.
I do want to bring up one thing really quickly. You said that like a fire, water, grass core is very mandatory, and I think cores in general can be very strong. I think it is possible to draft like a quality mono team in general. Like just so off the top of my head, going mono water, you have like Volcanion, which is fire water. You have something like Ludicolo, that's grass water. I mean, you can develop cores based on like secondary typings that can really help you out. And I think if you're watching. Mr. Coach of the Colorado Crawdaunts, I think just planning out a draft better and trying to figure out cores that you can use in combination with the mono water niche, I think that can be very useful. So, like we talked about at the beginning of the season, the team itself, like mono water is not the best, it's not optimal, but there are things that he could do better from the draft.
For example, the versatility is much important for mono water than rain actually. Like rain doesn't add too much to it.
Mm-hmm. So, Paul, do you have any final thoughts on this one?
I mean, there really isn't that much else to say. I mean, you guys basically said everything you need to say. The Mew basically destroyed his team. The Tentacruel set was good. It was able to kill the Mew. But like Okan said, he had so much in the back. There wasn't really that much he could have done, and it's just one of the many crutches that comes with a mono water team.
Yeah, so
also, when you watch this, because I'm his next opponent, when you watch this, Dadareth, I'm bringing the sauce, and every mon's got an electric move. That's the problem with your team.
Yeah. So
Okay.
I'm gonna move on to the next slide. So we have at number 7 for Okan. He had the Bloomington Glooms, and Risha, you had them at number 5. They moved up for both of you guys. But Okan, I'll let you talk about their game first, and then we'll get into them a little bit more.
Sure. Well, he defeated a really, really, really good team, with a team which we are high on. But I don't know how much credit I can give it to him. Like I should actually. Like he won with a meme team. Like, actually, I mean there wasn't much meme this week actually. Yeah, like only Smurgle, and he kind of got lucky. For some reason she didn't kill Pidgeot. She didn't switch something that can kill Pidgeot, and just let Pidgeot spam Roost for a while. But he used the Porygon in the end very good. He just defeated both Metagross and Crocodile with just Porygon. That deserves some respect. The Queenam set was fine. Pidgeot was fine. The scene like where he parting shots against Metagross,
Oh yeah.
against Mega Evolve and parting shot fails. I didn't know that.
Yeah, I didn't know that's how that worked. I didn't realize that the move just failed.
Yeah, I mean that was interesting. But then again, he had the Pidgeot slower than Metagross, which didn't make much sense. Like that was your biggest advantage. You should have been faster and being able to attack freely.
I think he was worried about Bullet Punch.
Doesn't matter. He was still slower.
He was slower, yeah.
Was he? Okay.
Yeah, he moved second.
Yeah, like that's a bad prep there. But then again, like I said, he won against a really good team. So, GG. I hope he can do better. We'll see playing next week. Let me just check. I hope he plays either Sam and Seth.
He plays me. That's right. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, he
Doesn't
can
play me.
continue to win it then.
He plays Paul, and then he plays the Espeons, then the Infernapes, and then the Granbulls again, and then he plays me to finish out the season.
So he has a chance.
Rather easy.
Yeah, I mean it's not impossible.
So
The playoffs are a possibility. So good luck to him.
okay, so yeah, Risha, you moved him up actually 5 slots from your number 9 last week to number 5 this week. So what are your thoughts on this battle?
All right, so I might have overreacted a little bit moving him up that many slots. But the thing is, right, at this point, I'm pretty convinced if they had played that game last week against Bibarels, he would have won. So, like, and that would have put him at 6 last week, which would put him at 5. So, like, yeah, it's weird, but him being up here makes sense and doesn't. The big thing that I think we should notice, right, we had him on in week 3. He was the first guest that we had for the Power Ranking show, and he, like, kind of made a cop-out for his first 2 games, and then his third game was a forfeit, where he said he just wasn't focused, and he wasn't playing well, he wasn't prepping well, and that come week 4, or as we're seeing now, week 5, because he didn't play week 4, he would be playing and prepping way better, because he would have more time, more energy to focus on it after he moved away from school. And, like, as an impartial viewer, I can see you watching that and being like, well, this guy is going to be 1-9. But as someone who has played, as someone who has played in draft leagues with this guy for a while, I knew he was telling the truth.
Yeah.
Because he's made the playoffs in every league that we've been in.
Me too.
And what happened this week is he played a very, very good team that we think is still dramatically, we've said, is better than the teams below them, right? Top 4 teams of the league. 5 through 9 is hard. 1 through 4 I've kept the same since week 2 or 3, right? And he won. He won the game. He got a little bit lucky. He got mid rolls against Pidgeot and Porygon, I think twice, where if he had lost any of those rolls, he lost the game. But winning on rolls that are generally around 50-50 or in your favor is not getting hacks to win. He had some weird prep. I didn't like his Kyurem White set, just because it looked in the game like he couldn't hit Rotom. I spoke to him afterwards. He had Earth Power, but he forgot what Turbo Blaze did. So, like, so there was that. He messed up his Pidgeot speed, whatever. He went for his win con too early with Kartana, and then he did it again, and it didn't cost him either time. So he worked out. He was able to make the in-game adjustments late in the game to, like, you know what, Porygon's my win con now. And that's what good teams do, right? They're able to do that. So even though he got a bit lucky, he was able to pull out. He made full advantage of every opportunity he was given to win the game, and he won. So right now, like we've been saying, I don't know why this is such a big theme for me this week, but if he had just shut up and let the other team take the forfeit, which I respect him immensely for taking the forfeit due to his opponent's personal situation. That was a real homie move. But if he wins that game by forfeit, he's 5th in the standings right now. So, like, you know, it's just so crazy how things can turn like that. And again, it's going to be so interesting based on his schedule to see what happens, what games he wins, what games he maybe doesn't win, to see where he ends up. Because right now, his name in the Discord, Road to 7-3. I do not doubt his ability for 1 second to go 7-3.
I was actually just going to say that I agree with you completely because all 5 of these games are very winnable for him. I mean, the 2 hardest battles for him are going to be the Granbulls again and then me. And he, in our history in Draft League, he's beaten me more than I've beaten him. And then he just showed he can beat the Granbulls here. So he could very well win out, go 7-3, and end up in a really high spot in the playoffs. So
and he made a bunch of transactions. The transactions took effect this week, and he looked way more comfortable in building and playing. So we'll see.
Yeah. Paul, what are your thoughts on this match?
Yeah, shoutouts to Cyberduck. That was really clutch at the very end. What I do kind of want to say that it was very slightly luck-based in the end because he happened to send Porygon 2 in against the Crocodile, which is a higher defense, so he was able to get a special attack boost with the download. And with I believe, were the superpowers rolls?
Both of the times that he lived on 2 were rolls.
Oh, okay, well then it was very lucky that he happened to win that then.
But it was like 50-50 rules, it wasn't...
Well, yeah, winning 2 50-50s is... Okay, yeah. Yeah, that was a really good battle. He did squander the Kartana, but he realized that he could come back with the Porygon 2, and he was able to do that, and I congratulate him for that, and I wish him best of luck in the playoff race.
Okay, now talk about yourself.
Yeah, so...
I'm jumping ahead, but...
So both
we all came here to... Okay, sorry. Go ahead.
So... At number 6 for Rishu, the Twinleaf Town Torterras Paul teams, and they're at number 5 for Ocon. Both of them moved him up 2 slots because of his win this week and is now 3-2. So, Paul, I will turn it over to you, and you can talk about your match and your play and build for this week.
Yeah, so unlike the other weeks that I played, I think I actually played decently well this week. Shoutouts to Moonduck, putting everything in wheelchairs with the Thunder Wave. Yeah, I did. It was at the very end. It was pretty mind gamesy. There was I think there were like a lot of 50-50s that were like skewed in my favor. I did lose some of them, and luckily I was able to weasel my way out of them. Like when I ice beamed the sleeping Snorlax, and I happened to get rest from Sleep Talk. If he got any other move, he would have won there. I got a couple lucky Parahaxes here and there. When the Togekiss lived the Fire Blast from Charizard. I think the big part about that battle was having Lunar Dance on Cresselia. That was what helped me win the battle at the end there. Unless the Landorus happened to have like HP flying or like Psychic or something, I was gonna win that battle in the end.
All right.
Yeah,
so let's...
I'll go.
Yeah, I'll let Ocon talk about this one.
Okay.
That's my turn. God.
No, it's not my turn, okay? I have dips on Pal all the time. So, I mean, yeah, I can't criticize him this week, which is sad. Like, he's here and I can't do much. He played the mind games. Okay, actually, he knew
I
that...
did lose a couple of the 50-50s.
Yeah, but you knew the Snorlax was gonna just rest there.
Yeah, I just knew.
Yeah, that was fine. Other than that, I mean, I'm like the only one you weren't too prepped for was, I think, the Lax. And maybe...
Yeah, I knew that Snorlax was going to be a big challenge for me. Also the Raikou, which didn't come, by the way, which I was a little confused about.
He had 3 grass types.
I mean, yeah, that's fair, but like, I still didn't really have much for Raikou besides going into Hitmonchan, clicking Drain Punch a bunch of times, and then praying. He didn't have sub.
You didn't bring grass type doesn't negate that you had 3 grass types and Tapu Koko, which all...
That's fair.
That. Yeah, like you play good. Shout out to Lunar Dance. I also didn't think the Greninja could have one-shot the Hexers there.
Yeah, I didn't think... Actually, let me check what my spread was because I don't recall right now.
I wasn't personally very surprised that the Hersiers died.
I didn't count it at all. I don't think.
That
I had
was
56 special attack EVs.
really.
Those of you watching at home, you can run the calcs if you want.
I'm not gonna bother. Yeah, well played. Who are you playing next week?
Alex.
Yeah, he plays the Glooms.
Bloomington Glooms.
So that'll definitely
Hey,
be a good match. That'll
Ooh.
probably decide a lot.
Yeah, it's a big battle.
Yeah, it is. So Rishu, I'll let you jump in here. I know you've been chomping at the bits.
All right, so like Okan refused to make fun of you for some reason, and I have you here, and I have no idea why he wouldn't. So I'm gonna go back to last week, right?
Oh my god. God damn it.
All right.
Just answer. Why not physical Tapu Koko?
One of the two things that I think drives people to like put down Pokemon and start like playing another game, is losing to hacks that was totally unavoidable. And you're like, dang, if I hadn't gotten hacked, I win that game 100% of the time. That drives people to quit. The other thing that drives people to quit is getting 6-0'd by stall teams. So you got totally deleted by Okan's stall team. You got canceled. You and Pro Jared breaking the fourth wall. When that game was played, you the whole series of Paul as a draft league player got canceled, and yet you managed to bounce back, which I have some respect for. Which is why I moved you up. I didn't put you at 5 just because I was giving a lot of credit, I think, to Alex for his win.
That's valid.
And again, I struggled a lot with where I was going to put people 5 through 8. So I don't think you played a ton better than you have so far. Last week, it was just glaring that you weren't being very creative in how you were playing or making a lot of reads, because that's what you needed to do to win, and you made none of them, so you got 6-0'd. But your matchup was much better this week, so like you made the plays that you needed to make to win. It didn't have to be fancy. The prep, I think, this week was much better, again, due to having a much better matchup, not needing to be as creative. I'm going to take sole credit for every creative set you've ever brought. Due to the times that I've helped you prep.
I actually had somebody else help me prep this week, though.
Okan helped you, right?
No, it was somebody in a completely different server.
Okay. Either way, it was better. The mixed Greninja was very good. I liked the Tapu Koko set, even though we didn't see a whole lot of it. I think Physical Koko was a good bring.
It was actually mixed. It had Gleam for the Hersiers.
You shouldn't have told me that because I don't think it kills Hersiers. But
I think it was Expert Belt, so it does. I think.
All right. Cresselia was obviously a great bring because he didn't have a lot for it. So you're really stuck in this limbo between the teams that we know are really good and the teams that we know aren't as good, and that puts you in an interesting spot in the playoff race because that's where the 6th spot is.
Yeah.
And it's also where the 7th spot is. So you have an interesting road to see if we'll get into the playoffs. I think next week. Next week's game.
Next week is Alex.
For the Glooms. I don't think you have to win the game. I think it's a must-win game for him. Because I think you'll be fine, ultimately, as long as you can pull out some of the other winnable games on your schedule.
So Paul's got the Glooms, then he plays you, Rishu, then he plays me.
Oh boy.
And then he plays the Hersiers, and then the Infernapes.
All right, first of all, he was 2-0 against you last year.
Right.
Never forget.
I don't think it's going to happen again, Chief.
Never forget. 2-0.
You're right.
My team was actually good last season, though.
That's Slayer.
That's Slayer. That's me.
But, yeah, so I think it'll be very interesting. I don't know where you're going to end up. I mean, I have an idea. I don't really want to say it out loud at risk of sounding stupid.
That's valid.
So, we'll see what happens.
I think it's intrigued. A little up in the air. I just have to play well. We'll see.
All right.
It depends a lot on what the other teams do.
That's true.
Wait, I don't know about the playoffs. Like, we have 6 teams are gonna make playoffs, and then like 1 and 2 advances, 3 and 6 plays.
Yes.
Oh, so I can't play Paul in the playoffs.
Sure you can. All he has to do is beat the 3 seed, who could be undefeated at that time.
if we're looking at it, it would be me.
Or I can lose 1 and play.
Oh, that's like the one I have the best chance against.
There you go. All right, we're dragging too long.
So we'll slide on. We got a couple slots left, and we're coming up right on an hour. So we'll go into the number 4, the Durham Granbulls. Rishi, you can talk about their game first against the Bloomington Glooms.
All right, everyone who's watching, I need you to take out your keyboards. I need you to press F in the chat, in the comments below. This is the 3rd straight week she has lost 1-0. So I don't think I've ever seen that before. I've been playing draft leagues for a while. Just I don't know, my 10th season or something. So we said week 2 that her luck was certainly going to change after she hacked out her first 2 opponents. Well, I think we might have cursed her because her luck. She hasn't been like getting super hacked out, but her luck has changed. She's lost a bunch of 50-50s, and she lost some 50-50 rolls this week. So it's really unfortunate, this situation that she's been put in, especially because of her schedule, where she could realistically, I will still have her at 4th if she is 2-5 in 2 weeks.
She could realistically end up 4-6 and still be in the number 4 slot in the power rankings.
Yes, I might move her below Bloomington if he actually ends up 7-3. That's the only thing that's going to move at this point. That's it. It's that or bust. She's in the 4 slot, locked in. Her prep, I think, there were some glaring weaknesses in the prep this week because I did talk to her opponent. Her not bringing not Blacephalon, but physical Blacephalon could have helped. Her not bringing Mienshao was, I think, really weird because Scarf Reckless Mienshao, as I discussed with my opponent, there was not a single thing he could do on his entire team. That's the only reason he brought Fairy Silvally, is a Scarf Reckless Mienshao. So I don't think she 6-0s him, but the matchup is definitely more in her favor, especially since Aselgor in this game was completely useless. Not completely useless. She did click Focus Blast a couple times against Porygon, but ultimately useless. She prepped fine other than that. She played fine other than that. Her play has been very good across the entire season. The bringing Toxic on Rotom, bringing Superpower on Crocodile, even the Natural Cure Altaria, even though it didn't get to do a lot, they were all good brings. She had answers in prep for his entire team. The only issue was that he had answers in prep for her entire team, and in the end game, he just won more rolls. That's really what it came down to. She might have misplayed it. I don't think she did. When I watched the battle the first time, I was like, she made every right move. Now that I'm looking at it, she probably could have predicted when Porygon was going to recover and go into Metagross a turn earlier to try to help herself out a little bit. But it was overall fine. It could have worked out in her favor the way it was played. It just didn't. So she can, I think, survive the start that she's had at 2-5. If she ends up 2-5 over the next 2 weeks, because she plays 2 more undefeated teams, Jesus Christ, over the next 2 weeks.
She also plays Alex again.
And she does play Bloomington again. But I think she does really desperately need to win one of the next 2 games, and I think it's well within the realm of possibility that she wins both of them. So this is another one of those teams. It's going to be super interesting to see what happens. And like I said last week, this is the 4th best team in the league. I don't care if she finishes 7th or 8th.
Okay. Okan, you have anything to add?
I don't have much to add. Like every week, he prepped and played good. And she got kind of unlucky. And I don't know if it justifies her luck in the first 2 weeks, the unluckiness of the last 2 weeks. I don't know, but yeah, she just needs, like we said, the 1 win to get back on the race again, and I believe she can do that after not this week, but the next week.
Oh, really? I wonder why. That's a weird distinction to make.
Paul, you have anything any final thoughts for this battle?
I mean, yeah, we've kind of beaten the whole Porygon 2 thing to the ground at this point, but one thing I did notice while the battle was replaying just now was she knocked off the Eviolite from the Porygon 2 after the Focus Blast the Excelgor, and I feel like maybe if she did that before she switched into Excelgor, then maybe she could have had a chance, because I think the Focus Blasts are doing like half while the Eviolite was still on, maybe. So
Yeah,
I think
she needs to hit 2 of them in a row, though.
Well, yeah, that's fair, but like that's not entirely unlikely.
Okay. So we'll move on to our top 3, and we're gonna go through these a little bit quicker because we're starting to get into some deep waters in terms of time here. So Okan, you'll talk first about your number 3, my team, the Philadelphia Fearows, and Rishu, again, you had them at number 2, so you can talk a little bit about this week, Okan.
Okay, Jolteon defeated his old team. And you used Jolteon pretty well. Congrats.
I'm going to go a little bit more in depth with my time. Sorry if I'm cutting anyone off. It is lucky that we're trying to speed up because these 3 teams have been incredibly consistent. There's not a whole out. You took full advantages of the weaknesses in your team comp. It's not just bringing Jolteon, but noticing that Scarfed Electabuzz did work and raising him 1 choice specs because you're faster than Tornadus. There's also the Weavile was a good bring, took advantage of a lot of problems that he had since dropping Mega Aggron and replacing it with Mega Lottie. The AV Scizor was another very good bring. Even the Infernape bringing rocks on it again was
I had to.
Was good. So it all worked together in tandem. The same thing. You got momentum early, kept it for most of the game. You boxed in your opponent whenever he tried to get anything going, and it was a good, clean win. It wasn't totally dominating. It was a high differential win, but a lot of that had to do with hacks. So, again, like we've been seeing, not dominating, but incredibly consistent, and the results are there. I'm keeping him above me, Okan. Don't worry about it.
Paul, do you have any thoughts on this match?
I mean, yeah, so, you're seeing the Latios right now, he's getting 3 calm lines up. I really like the way that you handled it, which was going into baton passing first off into Scizor, and then you turning it to put it in pursuit range from Weavile if it stayed in. I don't know, I just like that. Overall, you did what you had to do to win. Not much else to say.
I will say that one thing that I always get nervous about, and I said this in the video as well, that I get nervous when my opponent starts to set up quite a bit, and I tend to panic a little bit. And I think I did like you said, I think I did a good job at handling the setup and thinking properly about what to do. So that's one thing that I thought I did well this week, and I said that in the battle as well. So
yeah, I probably would have started panicking when that happened.
Yeah.
Critique, I don't think that's true. I think you should have baton passed into Weavile because if he had HP Fire, you were boned.
I did see that. Well, no, if he had HP Fire, I actually don't remember what percent. I explained why I did it in the video. I don't remember exactly, but anyway, I'm gonna just pause this battle and we're gonna go back to the power rankings. Like I said, or like we said before, not a whole lot to go over. Pretty consistent. You guys can watch the replays. They are in the description down below. So if you want to see the full replays, feel free to do so, as well as my video, which will be going up. Art, did
1
it
week
go up?
before this.
Yeah, it already went up.
It's going up today, the day that we are recording, which is
Yes,
Wednesday.
That one. So this video is going up Monday, so you will have already watched the battle, so you can watch that again if you'd like. Anyway, we'll move on to Rishu, your number 3 slot, and Okan, your number 2 slot, the Orlando Appolitoeds. So Rishu, you can talk about your own team first.
Okay, so for another week, the first 2 weeks I had problems with my prep. This week, again, not really. I prepped pretty well. The AV Tangrowth and the Vaporeon set that I brought were both tailored to very specific situations that involved him not having rocks up, and I'm very happy that he didn't have rocks up because those situations ended up working out quite well. Where that's an HP flying that was not a roll to kill me, and at no point was Vaporeon ever at risk of dying unless he got haxed. So those sets ended up working out very well. Crobat was inside baseball into my team prep. I didn't have Crobat when I originally built the team. I had Cofagrigus because I wanted to bring T-Spikes. I put on Crobat because I thought it got T-Spikes, and then right before we started the battle, Showdown yelled at me and told me that Crobat doesn't get T-Spikes. So I replaced that with Roost, and it ended up being the Crobat put out of any mon on my team in this game just because it was a good bring. Because it outsped everything naturally on his team outside of the rain. And when the rain is up, I'm just able to U-turn and get in the Tangrowth of the Vaporeon. So this was a very Seth path to winning, where I U-turned first turn and kept momentum the entire game by pivoting in and out with Crobat and my defensive walls. And so that was a pretty cut and dry game plan, but it was an effective one, and it led me to a 5-0 win. That's really all there is to it, and I'm keeping myself below Seth. Next.
Okan? You here?
Oh yeah, he played good. I think you played good. The prep was, I think it should have been easy for you. Like the Tangrowth is coming, Vaporeon is coming, Crobat is coming. Those three are like definite. I don't fully understand the Zygarde choice, but yeah,
You
Zygarde
didn't
is
see
a good
Zygarde.
mono.
It's been 5 games. Zygarde has not hit the field a single time.
Yeah, you just like to. I mean, same like with my Ditto, I think.
Yeah.
It's nice to have it there, right?
I was a Yachiberry set. This was my win con, and it just didn't end up. Ditto has actually played in a game.
Yeah,
so
it
Zygarde.
as well, but like, I mean, I understand your point. Like, the prep was, like I said, those three months, like Clef, no, sorry, not Clef, Crobat, Vaporeon, and Tangrowth should have just win. You didn't need the other three, and it's kind of like that.
Okay. Paul, anything?
Yeah, I mostly agree with what Okan was saying. Like, you had Dr. Wet and Minoods, which were sufficient enough to win the game. Dr.
She's
Wet,
got a doctorate.
Dr. Wet pulling in through, living those moves, grass knots, yeah. They walled the things they needed to wall, and then they were able to allow room for Crobat to come in and clean up. So, just good clean win.
Okay. And last but not least, we have the Buca Cavaliers at number 1 for both of you guys. So Okan, I'll let you talk about your battle first, and then we'll all kind of give our final thoughts on the week.
Okay, now this game deserves some like serious talking about. I mean, like I just checked the matchup and I said, you know what, Rotom wins. Then I said to myself, like he should be prepped for Rotom heavily. Like if he's prepped heavily for Rotom, like I was expecting some Z ice on something, like maybe Dragon Dance, I assume Z Gyarados or something, because the Rotom on paper seemed like the biggest offender to his team. So I said, okay, I should win with something else, and then I just checked Mew was a really, really easy win con. Like I just needed 1 Rock Polish, then I would outspeed everything, even +1 Sharpedo with just Modest. And then Kingdra would have been the only problem. And like you said, he could have brought Tentacruel earlier. I don't think I showed the 4th move. The 4th move was Energy Ball. If it was Psychic or Psyshock, actually Tentacruel wouldn't leave 2 hits. So he didn't bring Tentacruel out because of that. And I'm glad that the last kill went to Toxapex. So Toxapex is now 3rd in the MVP rankings.
There's like an 8-way tie for 3rd. So...
No. The 8-way tie starts at 4.
Oh, never mind.
Yeah. Undisputed 3rd. And like, even if that Toxapex is 3rd in the MVP rankings, I think that deserves some recognition, that deserves some appreciation. So that
deserves some shame.
It hasn't died at all, which is disgusting. Okay,
I mean,
yeah.
to be fair, I have like 4 deaths
I'm aware.
in like 5 weeks.
Rishi, you have anything to add about this battle?
This is getting kind of annoying, honestly.
You said that the last like 3 weeks.
Literally, I did say it in the last one, and you know what? It is annoying because this is the same thing that happened in week 3, which is, I don't even remember what battle, it might have been week 2, where you just had a really brilliant U set, and it carried you. It got a bunch of kills, and the only reason it didn't 6-0 him is because his Tentacruel set was arguably better. Now, for the next game, Datarath, this one is free. I suggest you bring Toxic, Soak, and Whirlpool on as many mons as you can, because that way you'll be able to... he has a rematch against the Cavaliers, I think. So
yeah, we have.
Toxic Soak Whirlpool. That one's free. Next one will cost you. As many mons as possible, you'll be able to kill Blissey and Toxpex. I'm really desperate, guys. So after Mew did its thing, you let Blissey and Toxapex pick up the pieces. Your opponent did not have momentum this entire time. This was another very one-sided win. And we've mentioned every week up until now how your opponents have faced really unfavorable matchups in team building. That changes this week. You have a bad matchup against the Durham Granbulls, and I'm really excited to see what happens. Because I legitimately have no idea. You're carrying a lot of momentum right now, but you've both been playing very well the entire season. So we'll see what happens. Please kill Blissey. Someone help me. Oh my god. Now Toxapex is third in the end. It hasn't died.
Y'all can thank me for that one.
Someone needs to help me. Help me now. Also, side note, if the Durham Granbulls do win that game, we can move Okan out of first.
Paul, any final thoughts?
I just remember before this battle started, Okan had DM'd me saying, "Hey, I think I'm gonna win this battle in 7 turns." And then he showed me the Mew set, and I was like, "Oh my god, that's amazing." For the most part, it worked out. The Tentacruel posed a little bit of a problem. I guess that could have been brought in earlier. I mean, there's not really much he could have done. You know it's going bad when halfway through the first turn, he's already down a Mon. But yeah.
All right. Yeah, I mean, so I'm gonna move on to the final slide here. So, week 5, very eventful, really setting up the end of, really starting to set up the playoff race. So we are officially halfway through the season now.
Would you say we're in the end game? Would you say we're in the end game?
Not quite. Not yet. Not yet.
That's like week 7.
Yeah. So we're halfway through the season. The playoff race is really starting to get defined. Some of the teams are starting to pull ahead, and 1 or 2 victories for a few teams can really nearly solidify their slot in the playoffs at this point. So through all the battles, that is about it. Oh, I think I actually just made a mistake. I think I had us all as 4-0 maybe in the last slide. I'm not sure. Anyway, that's it for this week's. That's it for this week's power rankings. Thank you guys so much for watching. Please leave a comment down below. Let us know what you thought of Okan's and Richu's rankings. Let us know what you thought about Paul's insight. If you want
right after you put F in the chat. Right after you put F in the chat for the Granbulls.
Let us know what if you have your own rankings that you wanted to share. Please do that. But other than that, thank you guys so much for watching. Leave a like and subscribe, and we'll see you guys in the next one.